Should have clarified that. I don't want John to leave.
Right. You have my consent. Do I need to click on something, or are we good to go?
Nope. It's just there's a box that comes up for me that says make sure everyone has consent to be recorded. So that's a new thing, though. That wasn't there last week. I like that. It's a good reminder. So we'll start out with John. Tell us about yourself and what position you have now, and what's brought you to that position.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, that sounds great. Well, my name is John Corcoran, and I am the Director of Operations and Construction for Habitat for Humanity here in Winona County. And I've worked in this position for the past 15 years. In speaking about my job, I think it helps to have a background in what Habitat for Humanity is. So Habitat is a nonprofit organization that helps in the area of affordable housing. We use volunteer groups to build simple, decent, and affordable homes for people who are in need of housing. And our volunteer crews come from our local churches, businesses, the schools in our area, and from really all over the place. And these groups typically fundraise money, and then they donate it to us. And we use that money to build our homes. And those groups, after donating that money, they actually come out onto the job site and help us build the house. So this free labor that we get from our volunteers helps us to keep the project costs down so that the home is more affordable for the families we serve. Our clients apply for these homes, and they qualify if they meet 3 different criteria. First, they need to qualify financially. And what that means is their income is somewhere between 30 and 60% of the median income of our area. They also need to have the ability to pay us back for the home. One of the most common misconceptions about Habitat is that we just give people homes for free. The homeowners actually pay a monthly mortgage payment like any other homeowner. And the difference is that their mortgage comes with a 0% interest rate. So the second criteria is that they must be willing to partner with us. And so what this means is that each family needs to contribute 300 hours of work towards the construction of their home. And so they work side by side with our volunteers and contribute what we call sweat equity into the project. It's really rewarding for them to be able to be a part of building their own home. And it's a neat thing for our volunteers as well. The third and final qualification is simply that the family is in need of housing. So to date, our affiliate has built 51 homes in our service area, and we plan to start our 52nd home this spring. So in addition to building new homes, Habitat began a repair program in 2012 here in Winona. And this program helps any homeowner in our area repair the home that they currently live in. So we fix roofs, and we build wheelchair ramps, replace windows and doors, repair siding, we paint houses, and sometimes we help with brush removal. So with this program, we have repaired over 210 homes in our area. And so as the construction manager, my job is basically to guide all of our volunteers in implementing these programs, the home building program and the repair program. So to give you an idea of what my average day looks like, generally speaking, I have volunteer groups that work with me about 4 days a week, generally Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Fridays are my office day. And most of our groups work from about 8 a.m. till 12 or 12:30. So I usually arrive at the work site around 7 o'clock a.m. and I spend an hour or so setting up tools and doing safety checks and making sure all of our equipment is good to go. And when the volunteers arrive, I give them a quick safety talk and an orientation to let them know what the tasks will be for that day. And from there, I break them into small groups of 2 or 3 people and assign them tasks for the day. So after everyone has a task, I basically just rotate between the groups, and I give them guidance and help them troubleshoot any problems they may be encountering. So I basically teach construction skills to a new set of people every day, and those people don't necessarily have any construction skills. So that's my daily job, and I love it. So after a group leaves for the day, I spend the afternoon coming up with a plan for the next day, and I then purchase the supplies that are needed to make the next day a success. So I have a really great job, and it's a really fun job. And every day I have the opportunity to guide people in a volunteer experience that really changes other people's lives. So I think it's a really, really cool job. So I'm from Winona, and I went to school at Cotter. And after graduating, I really didn't know what I wanted to do for a career. I had a lot of great teachers, and I was good at math. And so I decided, well, maybe I'll be a math teacher. So that was sort of the logic I used there. And so I went out to school at St. Mary's University, and I started meeting people and getting involved in groups on campus that did a lot of service work. And the friends I made, so my friends and I, we would spend our evenings and weekends and breaks from school, like winter break and spring break. We spent those times volunteering at multiple nonprofit organizations. And so we really went all over the place. We volunteered here in Winona. We went to La Crosse and Red Wing, Rochester. And on some of our bigger trips, we would go to Milwaukee or the Twin Cities or to Chicago. And on those volunteer trips, we would help out at nursing homes and soup kitchens and homeless shelters and inner city schools and really everything in between. And so this is where I kind of learned about all the amazing things that nonprofit organizations do. And I was really impressed with the workers there. I was impressed with their kindness and their dedication to improving their communities. And I thought it would be pretty neat to have a career that had that much meaning. Like most other people, most of the people that I knew, I quickly decided I wasn't going to be a math teacher, and I changed my major over to youth ministry, where I could do more of these types of projects. So after graduating from college, I decided I wanted to spend a year volunteering at a nonprofit. There are a lot of places, a lot of nonprofits that are looking for volunteers in this capacity. And so, these organizations, they'll pay for your food, they'll pay for your housing and insurance, and they'll even give you a small stipend if you commit to working with them for a year. So I always liked building things when I was young, and I was really good at working with my hands. So I wanted to volunteer at a place that did that kind of work. So I picked a place called Nazareth Farm, which is out in West Virginia. And that organization does home repair out in Appalachia. And what we would do is we would bring in college and high school groups, and we would basically guide them in a week-long service camp. And really, it's exactly like Habitat for Humanity. But when I was there, I lived with 8 other people, and we were all paid $100 a month to live there and to work there. And we got that $100 along with our room and our board and insurance. And really, in the end, it was probably the greatest volunteer experience I'd ever had, and I was really good at it. So I decided to stay there for 4 years. So after college, I lived out in West Virginia for 4 years and volunteered. Eventually, I wanted to move closer to home, and so I moved to the Twin Cities, and I started working at Habitat for Humanity up there. I was able to learn on the job, and I ended up taking weekend classes to become a licensed contractor. And when the job at Habitat for Humanity here in Winona opened up, that was 15 years ago, my family decided to move here so that my wife and I could take advantage of free babysitting from my parents who were recently retired. So overall, I've worked in nonprofit housing at these 3 organizations for the past 22 years. So that's kind of how I got to where I am now. Anytime I speak to high school or college students, I always encourage them to get involved in clubs and organizations because it's a really great way to meet people and to learn about the different types of work that are out there. It's also really fun. And, when some companies are looking to hire people who have experience, so like right out of college, they're trying to find somebody who's got, good grades, but also some experience. And that's really difficult when you're coming right out of college. You don't have the experience. So I always encourage people to look into year-long volunteering programs as an alternative to getting a job right out of school. I do a lot of hiring, and when I'm hiring people, I don't just look at people's grades. I'm really looking for something that makes them stand out. If I saw a resume from a person who was qualified on paper, but if that person also, worked for, say, AmeriCorps or something like that, and they were clearing trails in a national forest or, doing cleanup work after a hurricane, I would definitely interview them for a job. Even if that job was an accounting job or an office job or something like that, their experience and their willingness to go there shows me that they're motivated, that they care for their community, that they have initiative, and that they're really willing to go outside of their comfort zone. So if you volunteer through a program that's sponsored by AmeriCorps, you not only get a living stipend, like the $100 a month I got, but you also are eligible for an education award, which is about $5,000, and you can get 2 of those in your life, and you can use those education awards to pay off student loans or to pay for future loans if you still want to go to school. So I really encourage people to look into that as an opportunity to get some experience. And really, there are a lot of jobs that are available in nonprofit organizations, and they really fit into all kinds of different skill sets. You don't have to be a home builder like me to even work at Habitat. Here we, employ all kinds of different people. We have a professional fundraiser, we have a finance manager, a marketing person, we have a volunteer coordinator, a truck driver, and 2 people who work in retail at our restore. So again, you don't really need to know how to build to work at Habitat. There's a lot of options out there. So really in summary, I'd really encourage anyone to look into nonprofit work as a career possibility, because it's a great place to work, and there's a lot of different opportunities. And really, overall, I'm really grateful that my experiences all kind of came together to guide me in my job, the job that has become my career. So that's my story.
And a fun story at that. I have a friend who likes to say, don't worry about finding perfect. Just start doing things that interest you, and eventually you'll figure out where you're supposed to go. So there's a lot of pressure on people to, what are you going to do when you grow up? I still don't know what I'm going to do when I grow up, and I'm way past high school. So just do the work you enjoy, and eventually you'll figure out what you're supposed to be doing. So that's
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah. So not that we want to change your path at all, because it's exactly what you needed to have. But if someone wanted to get into construction or nonprofit, do you have suggestions for classes? I know you talked about volunteering, which is absolutely hands down amazing opportunities. But if someone wanted to take some classes or some training, are there things that you would suggest?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first place to start, if you're looking close by, if you're from Winona and want to stay in Winona, Minnesota State College Southeast, they have a construction technologies program, and I'm actually on the advisory committee for that program, and they've got 2 programs where you can either you can either go to a class for 1 year or 2 years. It's a really great program. The industry, the building industry is really booming, and there are a lot of people that, college, typical college isn't for them. They're hands-on folks, and you can go get a degree in usually, like I said, 1 or 2 years out there. And there's a new teacher out there. He's been there for about 3 years, and he currently has 100% placement for his students outside of school. And so people are able to get a job, and it's a good paying job right outside of school. And it's a great way to do it, especially if you're like me. I'm not much of a office person. I love being outside. I love doing something different every day. And it's really great to be able to, create something and recognize that you're capable of doing that. You drive by some of the big projects going around in town, and those are amazing structures, but there is a way to do it, and you learn the way to do it. And it's, after you do it a few times, it's no longer overwhelming. So it's pretty neat thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I have heard that the construction industry has one of the highest rates of people going into business for themselves. So, if someone's also interested in not only working outside, but being their own boss, that is a great opportunity in that industry to be able to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when, and this isn't always the case, but when you first start, like maybe in your early 20s, your body works a little better. And when you get into your 30s and 40s, you sort of eventually work your way up into being the boss and paying somebody else to do the things that are a little bit more difficult for you. So, and they offer those degrees out at the technical school as well. So, there's good combinations for that kind of thing. And some people work year round. Some people work in the summer and make enough money where they just take the winter off, and there's a lot of different options there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great opportunities. And it's, at least in I can only speak to our area, but construction is people tend to think that it's not a very well-paid industry, but it is actually.
It is. I mean, starting pay is generally, it can be at least $18 an hour, and that's for having zero experience. And so you can work your way right up, and it's a good paying job. Absolutely.
I mean, that's with high school degree only and no experience, $18 an hour is excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. And the bigger market you go into, that dollar amount is higher. So it's it's pretty amazing field.
Well, and one of the things that we talk about with the other John Powell, who is at Southeast, is that even if you do get your 2-year degree at Southeast, by the time you are out and working, which typically you're working while you're getting your degree, but by the time you're out and working, paying off that loan is so much easier than paying off something much bigger. So it's more it's much more affordable long term to be able to do things. Even if you don't get a degree, you still can do great work and progress through the ranks and get great places. But if you do decide to do that, you're not going to be stuck with $50,000 worth of debt for the rest of your life. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I know people who went to school for 4 years and didn't like their thing, went for two more, and they're still not doing doing anything in their field, and they've got a lot of bills to pay, and that's not even a knock on higher education, because there's a spot for everybody, And so,
Well, and I mean, when I was going to school, if you didn't know what you were doing, you just went to college. And fair enough, it was a lot less expensive when I went to school. But that's changed. There's a focus on using your money wisely with education. And for some people, the career that they're going into or the field that they're going into does require that 4-year or more degree. I have a master's degree myself, so I'm certainly not knocking higher education.
Yeah.
But I also know that there's some students, based on their career interests or like my son, who can't sit still, putting him in a classroom is not going to fit him. So, you don't have to put yourself through that. You could still make great money and support yourself and a family and not have to worry about going to 4 more years after you graduate. So it's a great opportunity for people to look into, especially if they don't like sitting in classrooms.
Yeah.
which, let's face it, not many do.
Yeah.
I get that. So, well, any other advice to some high school students who are trying to figure out what's next or what their options are?
Yeah, I mean, I think really it is just to reiterate the idea of just getting involved, and that can be at your church, that can be at your school, that can be at something going on down by the lake. It could be just going and being a part of things, because connections are really really important. And if you can, if you have connections, the next thing you know, you might be guided to a job that you didn't even know you were going to love. I thought I was going to be a math teacher, and I'm certainly a teacher in my role, but it's not even close to classroom teaching. It's a really big classroom out there, and it's great. So, but I never expected I would be doing what I'm doing, and I've been doing it for 22 years, and I've really no interest in changing what I'm doing. So,
Yep. Well, great. Serena, do you have any questions that you wanted to ask?
No, I just came to listen.
Just came to listen, and it sounds like you guys know each other, so maybe you can call his family and tell him that he did okay.
Yeah.
I know how much of a rock star I am. I don't need that. I'll be all right. So you can say hi to your mom